Hello, my name is Jim, and this is your Daily Brogue for the 14th of July, 2021. Okay, so it's been a lot. Where was I? I was talking about interfaces, quantum interfaces, or not quantum interfaces, but interfaces. I guess I could call them quantum interfaces. Paralysis. Between that's enough of that. Yeah, let's deal with anything else next level. The interface between the present or the future and the past, and we call that the present. So that's an analogy. Not too bad of an analogy, because remember we're looking at the quantum nature of time. So we're looking at looking at the system that's discrete. The quantum space-time is discrete in nature. That's why it's quantum. There are little bits of it, little tiny bitsies, countable. In fact, counting, quantum means count. So there should be a quantum number of these, or a countable number of points in space-time in some sort of lattice. And it's going to be a random disordered lattice, I think, speed. But just because it's a random disordered lattice does not mean that there's no interface. So I'm not sure if it's really disordered, but in general I think it's random, highly random, so it's probably disordered. I think that's probably a good first guess. Let's see. Ooh, look at that. It's Firebolt 5. But of course, everything is extremely... This is not a good Firebolt level. Okay, did not wake up the monkey. Alright, any secret doors? No. Probably no secret door. Let's just go down. N descent. Okay, good. There's another monkey. Oops. TC. And this will be, oh, that just opened up this thing for me, and that has blinking, tunneling. Let's get the tunneling. Okay. And that's not looking really Firebolt friendly. Ooh, clairvoyance. Should have known that. Confusion. Lots of guys. So now we'll have to hide. Is there a bloodwort sock nearby down here? No. We'll just sit here. So we have, I shouldn't say we have, but we'll tend to have. Yep. Okay, there's a key here, so actually have a pretty good idea what's going on here. Let's not take the key. So what's going to happen is there are lots of eels in this water. There's a chasm on the other side. It's all chasm. So when I grab the key, there'll be some flooding. Now I have a tunneling, so hopefully it'll get me out of here before the eels get to me. I can make my way over there. Maybe there'll be a... Okay, I haven't found a life yet. There's a bloodwort stalk. I will be coming back, so it's no big deal. Alright, what do we have? Wisdom, Quantum Teleportation, Staff of Entrancement is best out of these guys. Let's try some of these. You, Life. N, Invisibility. Oh, better keep that. Pretty big blank spot. I think I left something over there anyway. Let's go over here. I don't remember if I searched. I think I just drank a bottle of something I shouldn't have drank. No, nothing there. So that feels like everything. Might be a hidden something somewhere, but can't do anything about that. M, Empire Immunity, and L, Strength. Not bad, not what I was looking for. Tech Magic would be fun. Okay, so we have those two things, rough or diffuse. Rough is something like a mountain range, diffuse is interspersed, right? Something like that. That's a bad Ring of Wisdom. Okay. I'm going to read some scrolls. Let's see. S. Summon monsters. Q. Sanctuary. Could have been a better place. O. Negation. K. Aggravate monsters. Fortunately, not many monsters that aggravate here. That's the reason why I was doing this here. H. Protect weapon. G. Remove curse. And so I can get rid of that ring of wisdom. Okay. Let's see, watch that. Dissipate. Okay. Stabilized. Time to go down. Okay, I've got enchanting. I don't know if it's good to use it or not. There's a strength and a potion of sword. Potion of strength and a sword. Alright, it's not malevolent. And apply L. Okay. So I can use it. So marginally better than the, no, not marginally better, they're much better than the dagger for most purposes, except for sneaky backbiting. Backstabbing, not biting. So I'm a rogue, not a dog, right? So we have the two interfaces. We have the rough one, which is like mountains, diffuse, that's some sort of interpenetration, like a mosaic. The rough one has a sort of fractal structure. Could have a fractal structure. That would be really interesting, having fractal time, fractal structure of time, and maybe figuring out what that meant, right? On depth 5, if I'm hallucinating, I shouldn't be wandering around. We do have that protected dagger. Spear here as well. So right now the only way to tell if something's nice is by use identification. So what does that mean, right? So we've got these two possibilities. Now I think, it seems to me, and I might want to work this out, this would be good to work out, right? Because it would be a way to discriminate between some of the statements. These aggravate monsters and summon monsters. Yeah, what a army find that people made, right? So one guy was saying, you know, that you definitely have this entanglement between, or I'm not sure if he was saying definitely, but it sounded pretty definite to me when he was saying it. You have this entanglement between different space-time points, events, right? They want to try to reformulate quantum mechanics in terms of events. That's one thing people are thinking of, rather than sort of the state space structure that we usually use. Turrets don't count for identification purposes. do count because they shoot you with stuff and you die, but they don't count for identifying your weapons. So I do think that's something interesting. So we do have a fractal structure that might have to work something out, but it's possible that that might have some implications. So if you have only a present, if you have a real presentist view, that the universe, only the present exists, and that present has to meet a couple of criteria. So in some way it has to have a special relativity as a limit, right? You have to have this limit where there isn't a special reference rate, right? A special velocity, basically. There's not some levitation that we're looking for. Jelly Death 7, okay. Oops. Do I know where I'm going? Am I confused? I'm confused. Oh, very nice. This is how you learn things with your doohickey. So okay, so the sword is +0. Try the spear. Okay, so where was I before? However long it's been. Pink potion. So I was talking about roughness. So yeah, we had the roughness possibility. In that case, what we're thinking of is that these interfaces So in that case, when we're thinking about these interfaces, what we're seeing is Oh no, can't go that way. So we're thinking of the interfaces basically as everything not happening simultaneously, right? Let's protect armor. I've seen both of those other guys. There's a secret door to the goblins and a bunch of stuff. More protect armors. Got a potion of life. Okay, lots of those H's identify, so we can figure out exactly how many of those guys we have. So I think that's important. So we've got, don't really need creeping death. Got a physical idea about what's happening with roughness. With roughness, sort of the surface of the present. Isn't consistent, right? So I don't know what that'll mean for the fractal dimension if we get to the fractal dimension, right? But you know, some as we should say as our should I say this? So one way to think about this is sometimes when people talk about general relativity, they talk about sort of surfaces that that could end up being bad. Didn't make it. Oh well. So surfaces that get sort of ahead, +1 obscure paralysis, that was alright. So eventually I'd have dumped those enchanting into it. So for the roughness part, the surface, the evolution of the present gets ahead of itself every once in a while, and there has to be some sort of limits to that. There has to be some sort of meaning to that. There'll be an issue, right? There will be an issue, is that your space-time still has to not have a special system. So for some versions, for some solutions to general relativity, you can imagine foliations, right? So when you can update the space-time surface, it moves forward. It just keeps moving forward. There's a leaf after leaf after leaf. That's one way to look at these, but that's sort of only true in a static system. So you're looking at something like a black hole or something like that, where you're looking at a Schwarzschild solution. You're looking at one of these universal solutions, like the FRLW solution. So that's ignoring all of the back reaction. That's ignoring all of the interesting things that happen in general relativity. But in general, you can't really say that there's a time direction and it's going forward in this direction and stuff like that. You have to think about it a little more carefully for a particular observer. So this evolving forward, something's getting a little bit ahead, something's getting a little behind, and getting a little rough surface in space-time. That makes sense. However, it still somehow has to make sense in terms of the universe, right? Or in terms of any particular observer. So it's not as simple as just saying it's gotten rough. So that's what I mean by roughness. So I guess next time, which will have to be tomorrow, I will talk about the diffuse surface and hopefully more or less the relationship between the diffuse surface and the rough surface, which I think is key. I think it's necessary to understand that, but I don't understand it. That's where I think the interesting thing comes. And then, you want to take these two different kinds of surface and talk about that in terms of different people's theories of gravity or of whatever. So one guy was saying there's only the present, and he has this sort of process idea about what's going on with the universe. Other people, the quantum gravity people, are saying, well, there's no time, right? So if there's no time, then what does all this mean in the first place? Some things can, things get a little bit ahead, and there's a little bit of an entanglement there. That's going to be something we talk about later on. So the roughness goes along with one, that process, and two, goes along with the relativity stuff. And then the diffusion will go along with the entanglement stuff, so the entangled nature of space-time events. And hopefully, by examining things like this, you can bring the two together. So we'll talk a little bit more about that diffusion while I'm doing bad things in the future. Bye now.